Hey there, this is Felix from Gold Amel Vintage Watches and welcome back to a new watch guide. As we all know, our watches have cases to protect the dial and movement. At the same time, they also have the biggest influence on a timepiece overall look. And some timepieces are instantly recognizable only because of their case shapes. In this guide, we will present you to the 6 most common types of watch cases, their popularity in different ages, and the applied materials. Today's video is based on an article written by Marco Siems, who has been writing articles for our website as a freelance author since last year. If you're a fan of reading, you will find his full article in the video description below. You will see some interesting graphics in the next few minutes. I know, graphics, but these ones are really exciting. In order to understand them, I would like to explain them in advance. Marcos designed for each case design 2 graphics based on over 4,000 watches publicly listed on Chrono24. On the left, you will find a scale from 1940 to 2000 with the corresponding annual market shares, which stand for popularity, and on the right, the most commonly used types of watches, also with the corresponding market shares. So let's start our today's journey with, you can say, the shape linked to watches, the round case. It's a classic circular timepiece in evergreen that is seldom questioned. Just like this beautiful Seamaster 2757 SC dress watch from 1954. No fancy names or interesting stories here. This shape embodies a certain kind of minimalism, indicating that no unnecessary material has been used. Round watches are just the clearest way to show and read time, and you can find them on all watches like dress watches, divers, field watches up to chronographs. Popular examples are models like the Rolex Submariner, Omega Seamaster, Breitling Super Ocean, Tudor Black Bay and the Cartier Ballon Bleu. So let's head over to the first graphic. Over 90% of all timepieces produced between the 1940s to 2000 have round cases. In the mid-20th century up until 1965, this is almost exclusively the case. It's only from the late 1960s to the early 1980s that case designs get a little funky and we see a dip in the round popularity all the way down to 60% in the early 1970s. The round case gets more popular again, but never returns to the level of the 1940s with a maximum annual market share of 90%. As this shape is so common all throughout the last century, the used materials mainly reflect the overall distribution used for watches. About a third of these pieces are made of precious metals like gold with 35%, a little more than half of them are non-precious metals like steel with 55%, and about 1/10 are bicolored or gold-plated cases with 10%. The second famous case shape is called cushion. Similar to the round case design, the cushion does not have sharp edges on the outline. Its shape ranged from an almost rounded square, also called true cushion, like on this Longines, all the way to an elongated, most elliptic shape with integrated lugs, called C-shape like on this Rolex Oyster Quartz. The 1970s, the adventurous era of case designs. As you can see on this graphic, we see a total of 4 different case styles that peak in the space age, and the cushion case is the spearhead of this movement. With almost 25% market share in the early 1970s, it is an alternative to the round case and defining factor of the time. But especially the chronographs of the time have favored this style. As this shape is mainly associated with tool watches, it is most often produced in steel with 71% and less often in full gold with 19% or gold-plated with 10%. Popular examples are Patek Philippe's Nautilus, Hoya Camaro, Omega Speedmaster Mark II, Zenith Defy Classic and the Citizen Bullhead. The third main shape of the 20th century are square cases. Square cases are the second simplistic design when it comes to watches. Sometimes also called the TV case, it can feature both integrated as well as applied lugs. For our definition, slight deviations from equal edge lengths are acceptable. The style was common on slim and elegant dress watches from brands like Rolex, Piaget and Vacheron Constantin, but in the 1970s some watchmakers used the square case for sports watches. As you can see in this graphic, the square is a case shape that has always been around. It has always been rare, but its distribution clearly predates the time frame of this analysis. There are 2 clear peaks, one in the 1950s and one in the early 1970s with a maximum annual market share of 5%. Not surprisingly for a dress watch favorite, the squared case commonly only comes in golden colors with 60% and gold-plated with 9%. Popular examples are the Hoya Monaco, Omega Constellation 168.047, Cartier Tank, and the Patek Philippe 2493. Number 4 is the oval case. It's an ellipsoid which, unlike the round case, has much longer dimensions and has no or very short edge on the short side, unlike the tonneau shape. Very often an oval watch is equipped with integrated lugs, a design that almost never occurs before the 1960s but rises to a notable market share in the mid-1970s with a maximum annual market share of 5%. It is clearly an aesthetically orientated shape and hence can be mainly found in dressier pieces. Again, since this is primarily a dress watch style, it is very often offered in gold with 58% but not gold-plated with 3% market share. Popular examples are the Chaume Patek Philippe Ellipse, Chopin Ovale, and the Omega Genève Dynamic. The fifth case design is a so-called Tonneau and Rectangular shape. In this category we got two shapes, which names are regularly used interchangeably. The two shapes are very similar in appearance, but not yet identical. We still pool these two together as they also share many features in their distributions. Both have in common that the cases are longer than they are wide, more so than the classic tank, and the rectangular case, as the name suggests, has 4 straight edges. Tonneau, on the other hand, is French for barrel, thus the longer edges are slightly curved and it may come with integrated lugs. The tonneau and rectangular casings have a very similar trajectory to the square casings. Both have been used for dress watches, been around since before 1960, but have never been popular as in the mid-1970s with a maximum annual market share of 7%. However, this design has clearly been very popular early in the 20th century and enjoys another wave of appreciation from the 1990s onwards. As a dress watch style, we do see this design in most cases made from gold with 64% and gold-plated materials with 8%. Popular examples are the Rolex Prince Elegant, Cartier Tank Cintré, and the Longines Evidenza. Last but not least, number 6, the octagonal case. What can I say about the shape? Just think of a true modern day watch design icon. And there you have it. A daring design nowadays most prominently associated with Giorgenta and Audemars Piguet, the Royal Oak. It is an edgy industrial design with integrated bracelet and lugs that just sticks out the pack. However, the octagonal shape might most likely has found its way into the affordable horological world through the manufacture of Cartier in 1978 with the Cartier Santos Octagon. The Royal Oak was a truly revolutionary one, as such a case shape has virtually been absent from the market before the watch hit the market in 1972. As a high-end watchmaking device, the Royal Oak itself will never sell enough to really skew the overall market. However, combine it with Cartier and the sparked interest of several other watch manufacturers, the octagonal shape still gets a peak annual market share of just a little under 4% in the 1980s and 90s. Today's guide is missing a few classic shapes. This includes, for example, the asymmetrical Hamilton Ventura and other more avant-garde case designs. In the end, we have to leave those out as there was just too little data at the moment to draw a conclusive picture about the distribution of those styles. So that's all for today. We hope you were able to learn something new or something you haven't heard before. Have a great day and hope to see you in our next guide.